What is up, everybody? This is Alex from IHE TV. That's my clicker impression for you. Man, okay, where do I start with this? Where do you start with this franchise? First off, HBO, how could you not see this coming? Genuinely, why? You have done this to yourself, okay? And by that I mean, I feel like The Last Jedi kind of goes hand in hand. God, I just Freudian slipped it instantly. Yeah, I feel like The Last Jedi and The Last of Us go hand in hand as far as discourse media goes. The second game is a complete lightning rod for that sort of stuff, and the crowd pleasery, honestly more solid nature of the first Last of Us game and the first Last of Us series mimic each other. And I guess I don't need to linger on that stuff too much, because there are, and I'll put these in the description, I did a Last of Us 2 video game review when it came out on Char Media, and I'm pretty sure we did a discussion on Sardonicast as well, if you want some different perspectives. And on Sardonicast we also talked about the first season of The Last of Us, which the Cliff Notes version of my thoughts are that it's fine as pretty good production value, but I was really trying to think this through. I don't think there's a single change that the TV show has made that has improved it. I think every single scene is superior in the games, and everything that makes the games special is kind of lost in translation, despite there being moments here and there. The Bill episode is particularly good from that first season. But one of the talking points when the second game came out was kind of about the structure. And I'm going to spoil all of this, by the way, so if you haven't seen it, you've had your warning. The structure and pacing is definitely my biggest critique, probably, with the second game. And one of my arguments was that maybe this would work better in an episodic TV format, because the structure of the game is kind of, it goes day 1, day 2, day 3, switches perspective character, and does day 1, day 2, day 3 again, then has a ending segment. And their approach to this season was to do not even half of the game. It's only 7 episodes, a very awkward 7 episodes. It doesn't have that clean structure of that first game where it's just separated into the seasons of a year. It's simple, it's clear, it's clean. The pacing's really good. So I guess top level thoughts. This season's actually quite bad. Like I would say it's significantly worse than the game. Because while I don't love The Last of Us 2 in totality, like the plot in a vacuum, I have loads of problems with, especially the Abby side of the story. But what they've done here is kind of tweak it, and they have moved things around that has taken away any potential punch the second season could have, really. So maybe I should organize this better by just going episode by episode. There are only 7. I was kind of taking notes as I was going, so I'll kind of ramble on about this for a bit. So the first episode opens on instantly like a weird choice, like opening on Abby and revealing the link with Abby and the Doctor from the original game/show, a reveal that was held off in the game, and the release of information was just completely different and much more impactful, actually, even though it didn't fully work for me in the game either. And this one little change of its opening on that funeral scene, it takes away so much mystery, and it makes Joel's death a lot less effective or impactful too. But we'll get, it's not quite Joel's death yet, that's the next episode, but yeah, we gotta talk about the Ellie problem. The amount of hate and vitriol directed at Bella Ramsey it's like needlessly nasty. Like, I hate the way people target these things at actors that they don't have that much control over these productions. And while I wasn't in love with her in the first season, she was fine. But Ellie in part 2 is quite a different character. She's grown up a lot. And while I think Bella Ramsey is actually quite good for a lot of the more intimate, quiet, emotional scenes, part 2 has a particular physical requirement, a physicality that I didn't even question or think about in the game at all, is now brought to the forefront with this like tiny 5-foot girl who's supposed to be 19 but looks even younger, is going around like taking out these 6-foot burly dudes and these huge zombies and stuff. There's something that doesn't land with her. Even down to her voice too, she sounds so young. There's just something about her that doesn't work as Ellie. It'd be fine if it was different but still good, but again, this is just one of the changes where basically all the tweaks to Ellie make her way more unlikable when she is one of the best parts of the original games. And I really didn't have an issue with Ellie's performance in the game. In fact, it's incredible. And it's just the nature of an interactive video game where you're killing hundreds and hundreds of people from your perspective through your control. It's just a different thing. And even then, God, there's just layers and layers on this. Even then, that was one of my criticisms with the second game, was the kind of absurdity of the revenge mission tracking people in a zombie apocalypse across country across states and killing hundreds and hundreds of people with the end goal of trying to find one person. So yeah, Dina is also introduced, a crucial character from the second game, who again is a huge downgrade as far as a character is concerned. The most distracting thing about her that has been pointed out a bunch of times is that, like, she always looks so pampered and beautiful in every scene she's in. Like, her hair is ridiculous. Like, every scene looks like she's had a fresh blowout. For a show with production values as high as it is, the people in it are weirdly clean and well maintained. Like, loads of people have these perfectly trimmed beards, and there's just definitely something missing with that. I think also the way they delve into the Jackson location, which was established in the first game, also kind of misses the point of what's cool about this story. The intimacy of the story is what makes it good. Like, the whole point of it is Joel and Ellie, and kind of like in the second game, issues start arising when that stops being the focus. The kind of point of the second game is using the character of Abby to allow Ellie to go through her arc of forgiving Joel through her experience of trying to get revenge on Abby, which we can debate endlessly on if that worked or not, and it didn't really for me, with the caveat being that I still think the second game has loads of great set pieces, the environmental design is incredible, the lighting, the gameplay is really good, and there are still lots of good scenes sprinkled throughout the show, a couple of which I'll get to in one of these later episodes. So going back to the Jackson kind of expansion stuff, that they like show off that there's like a council of people that like Jesse is on, and Joel has like a therapist, and he's arguing with people about immigration, and it just was like, you've made this really stupid. Like, this is way more like a Walking Dead kind of feeling to me. This you're making it too big. And for how much of the story that is missed out from the second game, from just this season alone, I feel like it was putting the focus on all this pointless, stupid, we got to make this feel big like Game of Thrones, and we got to show the epic scale of everything, which to me is just not really what the game is about. But again, that's just an advantage of the downtime you have in video games to just walk around and do the traveling yourself. There was like another thing that doesn't translate that well is the introduction of the new zombies that are a bit smarter, and that's what the council meeting is about. Very video gamey in a way that you don't really even think about in the game. Feels a lot more like diegetic and natural when they introduce a new variant or whatever, but there is just something way more corny about the way they have to address and write around that in the show. And I guess finally the Dina Ellie kiss with the homophobic guy kind of caps the episode, a pretty important scene. Also in the game, I don't particularly feel the chemistry between Ellie and Dina in this version, which was not an issue with the game at all, but whatever. I just have a feeling this is going to be a long-ass video. That's only episode 1. Let's move to episode 2 then. I think the highest rated episode of this season. And this episode really cemented for me that I wasn't going to like this. I think they kind of ruined this set piece of Joel's death. And again, another layer on top of it, the way they get to Joel's death in the game is one of my bigger problems too. It's so reliant on all these conveniences and contrivances just in order to make it work, so then the story can jump off from that point. So yeah, they do the dream sequence with Abby, kind of accentuating the dad link, making sure you can't miss that. The big horde that is quite an exciting set piece in the second game, we were playing as Abby, is kind of pointlessly over-explained in order to justify this huge, like, Helm's Deep siege action sequence, which again, to me, is like, I don't want this from this franchise. Like, I don't care about that kind of thing here. In fact, one of the cooler things in the second game is like there is a point later in the story when you're playing as Abby where there is an enormous set piece happening, but your involvement in it is so tertiary and you basically just explore around the edges of it, or it doesn't feel like you're not like leading a charge of an army or anything. You're like basically stuck in a situation where this war is happening in the background. So you get these like CG dogs coming out, and every time I really don't like the bloaters in the show. Like they're a scary presence in the game. They're intimidating, they feel big, and just because of the nature of your managing resources, the tension and fear associated with them is so core to the engagement of a video game, which is just completely lost, and they just become these big CG like screaming all the time. Just feels big, dumb, and stupid to me. So yeah, these CG dogs fighting CG zombies, and yeah, it's just as dumb as it sounds. And even with like the big high production value, like it just doesn't work for me. Then you get to Joel's death, which again, they somehow make even more ridiculous how you get to that scene. For some reason, in this version, Joel goes with Dina, which ruins the whole dynamic early on in the game, which is a good scene where they go to that, like, grow farm and have some more romance stuff to cement that relationship, which is still in there in some ways. It just kind of moved around and jigged up. But what makes that scene more effective, or at least that structure in the second game more effective, is that it puts more agency on Ellie, so she feels more guilt over her involvement and that maybe she could have done more. Maybe if she wasn't messing around, smoking and making out with Dina, then maybe things could have gone down differently. But outside of that, like, the look of the scene is very similar. I do like Joel's final line, where he's just like, "You do it already? Stop monologuing." But yeah, I'm a little bit surprised that that's the highest rated episode to me. Outside of the obvious, like, the performances are good in the scene. And another weird casting thing with Abby, like, she's not ripped anymore. And she was like, why are you doing this? So Joel is allowed to look and pretty much be the same and identical as he is in the games. But a key character like Abby, you've, like, changed to, she kind of looks like Ellie. It's weird. So yeah, then we kind of moving more into the Seattle sequence as Ellie, which is one of the better parts of the game. You get a lot of time to establish and flesh out the Ellie-Dina relationship, and there's kind of an open world-y section. And the way this feeds into what I was saying about the Jackson expansion into the story, where there's, like, this council and they're all talking about how many people died in the siege and stuff. It takes all this focus away from Joel, even though it's supposed to be kind of the whole point of this story. Like, his body is there amongst all the other dead people. There's a moment where Ellie has to pick up a pistol that I guess was Joel's. And going back to, like, her physical presence, the pistol, I'm sorry, it looks absurd in her hands. Like, she's so tiny. Dina has some kind of intel about the killers, Joel's killers. There's a slight introduction of the Scars, one of the two main kind of factions. It's the Wolves and the Seraphites/Scars, like a militia versus a religious cult, which becomes way more important in the second half of the game. You don't get too much on it in this first half or third of whatever they're going to do with this. Yeah, so these two tiny women go out on a revenge mission. They get helped out by the homophobic dude who gets way more screen time and attention in this version for whatever reason. They just flesh out the most random things. I like the moment of putting the coffee beans on Joel's grave, sniffing the shirt and stuff like that. It's a good scene. But again, better in the game, more effective, more emotionally impactful in the game. The final shot of this episode is like a huge army walking behind, like, armored vehicles, I guess the Wolves. Again, too big, too stupid for this story to work like the first season. It's just much more effective when you are locked to a very small group of characters. It needs to feel intimate, and that kind of makes the world actually feel bigger and scarier through that laser focus of a couple main characters that you actually care about, instead of just, you know, these hordes and just goofy. Like, ironically, this show is more video gamey than the game that it's based on. Episode 4 opens with the dude from Drake and Josh in that armored vehicle, and Jeffrey Wright throws a bomb in, and that's some kind of link to the game. I think as Ellie, you can find an armored vehicle and open it, and there's all the, like, skeletons in it. It's an okay scene. It kind of made me wish, yeah, maybe this would be better as a supplementary thing to the show and wasn't just telling it beat for beat with the same characters. Maybe have, like, more of, like, a Jeffrey Wright thing. Because I do like him, but he doesn't really get much to do in this show. He'll probably be in the third season more if they go in the same direction. So then after that opening scene that's set in 2018, it goes to, like, 11 years later and starts Seattle day one, just like the game. They're walking around the city, they see the pride flags, go into the music shop and start playing drums. Seem kind of stupid, but then the Take On Me thing is established, another kind of important through line. All the musical stuff is a big thread throughout that second game and sprinkled in the first one too. Jeffrey Wright tortures a Seraphite for information. They kind of reference the hanging gutted bodies set piece from the game. They do that a lot, where they kind of make a replica, but without any of the tension you feel from playing it or having that interactivity. Like, don't get me wrong, the sets are excellent, the production value is really high, but on an emotional or character level, I just don't really care when they're in action scenes, because I just don't buy Ellie's physicality. And please, I'm really trying to be fair and think about anything that it does better than the game. Tell me in the comments if there's anything that comes to mind, but I really don't think it's able to outdo anything. Because next is the subway set piece, which is one of the more memorable combat encounters in the game. The lighting there is insane in the game. And you have these different factions. You're like the zombies down there. You can trick them into fighting. You can basically just cause chaos by throwing bottles around, and it's really vibrant as a combat set piece. But they simplify it down into just, I don't know, I feel like for this concept to work, it has to be a video game. Otherwise, it's just zombies that we've seen a million trillion times before. Like, they don't do anything unique, really. And the most kind of important plot development from that sequence is Ellie getting bitten on that turnstile thing and her having to communicate the truth to Dina. Then things really start going off the rails with the pregnancy is an ongoing through line with the second game. It's no different here, except they somehow make it a lot worse, actually. Like, Ellie's response in the game is very logical and just like, well, we got to go then. Like, we can't just have a pregnant woman out here. This is crazy. But instead they feel like now's a good time to have a sex scene. They're like filthy and disgusting and have just nearly been killed by mushroom zombies and all number of horrors. But no, they're going to get it on. I did note that the chemistry was better, but then it's kind of immediately undercut with that "I'm gonna be a dad" line. Another one that's not in the game, and it's probably the most memed thing from this season, outside of the clip chimping of the scrolling through frame by frame to try and find the least flattering Bella faces people could possibly find. Which, for the record, you can do that for like anything. That's not an argument in and of itself. But that dad line, just so strange. Some of the serious moments with Ellie work for me, but the potty mouth comedy stuff that never really bothered me in the game just doesn't really work with this version of Ellie. So then episode 5 is Seattle Day 2. Dina reveals some information about the first time she killed somebody, and about her being 8 years old when she had to do it. They have to take out another one of those smart zombies. This is when Jessie appears, a character who I really liked in the game. And the casting here is really good. And again, the production design, the theater and everything looks great. But there's so many characters that I feel like get done dirty in the game and the show. There's more expansion of the Seraphites. The kind of whistling thing is a bit more indulged in and set up. But again, I feel like it's so much better in the game, so much creepier, and has so much more tension as a mechanic in a video game. I talk about the Prophet a little bit, and then we get to the chase sequence from the game where there's some annihilation looking zombies embedded into the wall, or infected, or whatever you call them. And then because spores were one of the changes from the first season where that's not really a thing anymore, they kind of quickly established that no, they are a thing now. There are spores. So then they can have kind of an awkward exchange with Ellie and this woman from Abby's crew that she chases, the immune girl, you're real, and all this. And then they kind of reveal that she's screaming about how Joel killed everybody and shot Abby's father in the head. And Ellie's just kind of like, I know, and beats her up. Again, every single possible thing is better in the game through that sequence. Now, we go to episode 6, right? Which, to me, is by far the best episode. By far. Like, it's not even close. Like, it's comically above all the other episodes. And probably in part because it has all of the best scenes from the game weirdly just condensed into this episode. Throughout the 20 or so hours of that original game, God, it might even be longer, you're occasionally put into a flashback sequence, most notably the museum scene, and towards the end of the game you get the porch scene. And these are two of the most important, best scenes that I feel like any fan of the first game or that dynamic of Joel and Ellie is what you're looking for. And the whole episode is kind of structured around multiple Ellie birthdays, going from 15, 16, 17, I think. Again, like I'm like a broken record at this point, but the game versions are better. But this is what I was saying about Bella Ramsey just doing a better job in the quieter moments, you know, when she's on the dinosaur, in the spaceship, in the museum. It's much more charming and effective because it's delicate, and there's like one zombie in this entire episode and you don't even see it quote unquote alive. Another thing they expanded on is that the weed grower from the game, who's only ever mentioned in collectibles and things you can pick up, I think, or bits of dialogue here and there, he turns out to be the husband of the therapist. So they do this whole drama with, they find him out in the woods, he's been bitten, Joel decides to shoot him in the head after promising Ellie that whatever, they would take him back. So then Ellie can be upset at Joel. Then when they take the body back of this dude and the wife is breaking down and Joel's like, yeah, he took his own life, he said he loved you and everything. And then Ellie's like, no, he didn't say that. Joel executed him. Which I don't know if any of that was really needed. Again, kind of losing focus with the whole drama between them. Like the lie and the whole conclusion of that first game/season, there's plenty going on there. Like, you don't need to indulge in all this stupid shit. But it's not that bad. It's that guy from The Matrix, There's some good moments there. It's well directed. But the highlight of the episode is the porch scene. 2 really great performances, with Joel basically saying, if I had a chance to do it all again, I would do exactly the same. Pedro Pascal's really great in that scene. But then we go back to the structural issue of, why is this scene here? And the only thing I can really think of is that I guess they don't need to bring Pedro Pascal back for anything now. Because where that porch scene happens in the original game is quite intentional and hits way harder at that point after the whole journey you've been on. And like, it's so bittersweet and fucked up. But yeah, this episode definitely gets more right than it gets wrong, outside of just the bigger structural problems, where I just don't know what they're going to do now. Right, and to wrap up the last episode, another very weak, just strangely paced. It's badly paced, this whole season, in a way completely different from the game. It is weird to have this 7 episodes. It doesn't feel like there's any intent to that. I much would have preferred to have waited another year and they make 14 episodes or something. Because structural pacing problems aside, in the video game, it doesn't leave you on a cliffhanger and then force you to wait years for the story to continue. Like I was only reading this morning that it's been renewed for 2027 or something, and I really don't know if people are gonna give a shit by then. So it's a lot more scenes of Ellie trying to be intimidating, which just doesn't work. Ellie tells Dina about Abby's father and the relation to Joel and all of that. Another example of making Ellie a lot more unlikable is when she's sneaking around with Jesse and she sees someone being tortured and there are like 6 of them and her emotions get the better of her and she tries to like charge out and do something and Jesse's like, what are you doing? They'll kill us. Just pointless changes that make her feel way more unlikable than it needed to be. Jesse reveals that he didn't vote in favor of the council meeting of going on a revenge mission for Joel. I kind of assumed that was the implication anyway, so that didn't really do anything for me. Ellie screams, fuck the community, my community got killed in front of me. From 2 episodes ago, Ellie's looking for the fairground ride and the aquarium, which those who played the game know where a lot of stuff takes place. There's a really dumb scene where she's taking aim with this pistol in the dead of night from quite a considerable distance. It's like windy and raining, and it's like, what, are you gonna like shoot? Are you stupid? Like, she just seems dumb. Production design continues to be very good though. There's the attempted hanging moment, which I don't remember being as convenient in the game, but I could be wrong. It's been a while since I played it. With the most considerable conflict being her stumbling across a couple of Abby's crew. I can't remember their names because they're super boring characters in my opinion, but one of them's pregnant. The pregnant woman caught astray after Ellie tries to do the whole, you're gonna individually point at a map and if they don't match, then you're in trouble thing that she clearly learned from Joel, who does that in the first season. Jesse had left to go and find Tommy, which is another set piece they kind of just glossed over. I really feel like Tommy is one of those characters that just should have been in the game a lot more on the show. But he's done even dirtier than the game. And yeah, the pregnant women thing, they're trying to do this parallel. Abby's supposed to parallel Ellie. There's a pregnant woman on each side. But this woman's like, she's really pregnant. She's not early days like Dina. So I can't remember how they justify her being in what they describe as a war zone. But there's something goofy and cartoonish about that for sure. Then Jesse gets taken out in the same way as the game, and this sequence ends on a corny cut to black gunshot. Wait. With Abby having Ellie and Tommy at gunpoint. Then the final scene is Abby waking up, and you find out that it's gone back in time to reveal Seattle Day 1, which would be a fine ending to an episode if then the next week, episode 8 came out, and they did the next 3 days. But that's kind of the season. Just all over the place. And going through it like this, talking through it, has really made it feel even kind of less satisfying and worse to me. There's something really interesting about that second game and how just even they can really do it. They even released a patch the other day that like changes the structure to chronological order. So I don't know how that feels. I'm actually kind of curious to play that and see if it makes any difference, because I remember wondering if that would improve the flow of the story back when it came out, but they're going to struggle next season, I think, because it's going to be very Abby dominated, and a lot of the stuff with her is super corny, and I just don't like the characters on that side of the story, so we'll see how that goes. So yeah, this is a little bit of a wash for me. Not that I loved that first season or anything, but I do love that first game a lot, and I respect the second game a lot more than this show. There's something just kind of clawing about this idea where like, yeah, it's not good enough unless it's a prestige HBO television show, then it's legitimate all of a sudden. When it's like, well, the whole thing that made The Last of Us kind of stand out was that it was more of a legitimizing force for video games than the other way around. In fact, seeing it translated this way kind of takes away everything that was cool about it in the first place. So it just seems way more generic. It's propped up by Pedro Pascal, for sure, who is, I know the meme is that he's in everything, but he's genuinely well cast in this role. He fits it. I can't really say that for anyone else particularly. Just completely all over the place. And I'll leave it on this suggestion I had. This is the only thing I can think of, right, that might have made the second game kind of work better for me. So picture this, right? Before The Last of Us 2 comes out, maybe a year before, they release a spin-off Last of Us game where the main character is Abby. And it's about the scale of an Uncharted Lost Legacy type thing, with the point of it being like a 10-hour, we're going to make you like Abby, we're going to make you care about this character, with the kind of ending reveal being some kind of set piece where she's in that hospital trying to get to her dad, but Joel is shooting up the place, and it could be a cool spin and really make you feel for her. If you had to do like a stealth sequence while Joel is going around killing people, that would be a cool way to flip it on his head and then set up the next game without having to try and convince you that this character is cool or that you like them in this just ridiculous uphill battle after the game opening on the most brutal thing you've ever seen with the golf club. And yeah, even from saying that, I'm thinking about issues where, like, yeah, that would take some of the surprise away from Joel's death, but it also would just make it, I feel, more emotionally complicated or effective. But I don't know, I'm just creating whole different universes, but I just find the idea of quote-unquote fixing The Last of Us 2 a fun thought experiment. So let me know your thoughts. Did the second season work for you? Doesn't seem like it really works for fans of the game or fans of the show particularly. So I'm curious. This went on way longer than I was anticipating. I hope you enjoyed. See you in the next video.